Could we begin by hearing a little bit about how the writing process proceeded for you?
Of course, like writing process, I mean, I write like intuitively. There are like many things you think at the same time. And then like, step by step, you are like going deeper into something that you're excited. For example, one thing that was like I found important when I started writing, I wanted to make a film that takes place in only public places. There is no any private place in this film. It only takes place in courthouse, hospital, post office, streets, grocery store. Not a single private place. There is only one place that we could maybe call private, which is her car, but which doesn't belong to her. So I was having this idea, and I know very well like how it feels like to face with a public institution. I didn't, face so much in when I was living in New York with public institution, but especially if you live in Europe, and especially if you live in a country like Turkey, it's like in your daily life, and there's a certain feeling, and I wanted to track this feeling, like what do you feel when you face with it. Also, like her being, uh, like not from that, like she's from that city, but like she came for her mother, so like feeling that you don't belong to that place. So that was an important feeling to begin with, and I wanted to go deeper into this. The other thing is, of course, character is important for me. um, because like she's like in between things. She's in between her like professional and her private life. She like was living in big city but had to come to a small city. So like she's like stuck in between things, and I was tracking this feeling. Also, I'm always like curious a lot about like how we react to things when we have to, when we face with important and moral questions, and we have to, like deal with it in a short amount of time. Because like when we ask, if I ask something, what do you think about like this issue, everyone can like probably tell very ideal answers. But if you don't have time, and if it's important, and if it's something important for you, if it's not, if it's subjective, then you don't start to give like intellectual answers, ideal answers, but like the uh, true answer that you're holding. And then like this time pressure is always like taking a mask off. And then that's why I wanted to put in my character in this situation. And then I put her in the center, but surrounded by many men, in this community. And I wanted to see, basically, I wanted to look at how this community, how this city, how this country, how this system is working, and ask some questions. So this was like how I started to uh, write the film.
Yeah, I'm very interested in what you began with talking about the role of sort of public space, or rather space that doesn't belong to an individual. I'll come back to that in a second, because I wanted to ask about the lead actress, Tulen Ozen, and yeah, I was hoping. Could you tell us a little bit about how you came to cast her, and then maybe how the two of you worked together on the characterization of was this after the script was done? Was it in process, et cetera?
Uh, when I start doing auditions, I already finished the script. But for me, the script is a really lively organization that, like, you know, mm, lives throughout the set, even after the set, while I'm editing. But it was done already. when I casted her. I did audition like more than maybe 50 people. And when I found her, I mean, I knew her already. She's a famous actress in Turkey. But I was like looking for someone. Um, I mean, working with actors, like the acting is really important for me. And then because like I'm writing like long scenes that not any actor like can deliver it. And also it's a long process for me. So like I'm not only looking for talent, but also I'm looking for someone who I can walk on this road together, and also someone who can understand what I'm trying to do, and excited as much as I am. So like we did audition. She was great, but like the moment that I thought that this was her role was like when we started to talk about the script, because she had a great perspective on the character. She understood it very well, and she's a very hard worker. We like work more than like almost 1 year on the character. We went many times to the courthouses together, and because I don't want actors to be like a lawyer, but I want her to be like to be that person, to be lawyer. So like we went to courthouses, we observed a lot. She even like worked at a law office. And I studied law, by the way, in undergrad. And that's why I had the chance to like think about these issues, observe many things, even when I was studying. So and I had like many lawyer friends around me. So she had the chance to like work in law office, like observe lawyers, going to courthouses, and then we work also a lot on the script. And when I was on set, she was the character. She know as much as I did, and you know we really on set she was like understanding me like so quickly. Even one word she knew what I meant, and it was such a complex character. So yeah, we work a lot.
And so getting back to this sense of places which sort of don't belong to an individual and are fundamentally not private. I like it occurred to me, like, especially in the context of like director, I think you're probably familiar with the discussions of the work of the German filmmaker Christian Petzold. These kinds of places are often called non-places, right? And this came to my mind when I was watching the film because of the hospitals and courtrooms and these kind of transient spaces, and such a strong sense of that is communicated by, of course, the image in your film. So to that end, I was hoping we could hear a little bit about your collaboration with your cinematographer tutor Vladimir Pendaru. It seems relevant that he has shot films for like several kind of important figures in the so-called Romanian New Wave, like Cristian Mungiu and Radu Muntean. So yeah, could you tell us a little bit about that collaboration and how you guys kind of render these spaces in that way?
This is our second collaboration with Tudor, because I shot also my first film with him. So while shooting this film, we already know each other so well, and we already had a method of working, like how we approach things, and we also talk a lot about like each scene, like what we are like really what we are trying to achieve here, and it's more like we are not talking much about the technical stuff or camera movement, but like the core of it, like the philosophy behind it. And for example, one thing that it just came to my mind, that we wanted in each shot there must be something uneasy. There must be something as some like the feeling of if there's gonna something happen. So I cannot tell you this and you cannot maybe like we are not showing it, or like you're not like pointing it, but like there is this feeling that there's going to something happen. Even so, that's why we wanted this feeling to follow her, even if it's a wide shot in a street. Something is like following her. This feeling. So, for example. This was one of the keywords that we thought, and we wanted to apply this like the old mise-en-scène, while how we are placing her and everything. Also, like one important thing was, of course, shooting the courthouse scene, because what I wanted to, I wanted this look feels real, But one important difference between American court judicial system and Turkish, European system is like here, there is a jury, so that you can show off like as lawyer, and which is more cinematic. But like in Turkey, it's just boring. Like when you go to court, it's just nothing happens. And I wanted to have this like nothingness, this reality, but also I wanted to, of course, have something like dramatic. And we thought a lot about like how we can achieve this cinematically, how people can like wonder what happens, how people like continue to watch it, but at the same times they feel okay, I'm in a courtroom and this is real. And actually, I'm one of those people now. I am one of the witness. I'm just observing right now. So another keyword for us being witness to the situation. So like while thinking about the camera, we thought a lot about how we can make people put in a witness position and make them observe things, So also technically it was not easy. That like long courtroom scene we shot in a week, in order to technical continuity, acting continuity, emotional continuity. It was not easy to arrange all of these, and also it was we didn't have so much movement because everyone is like sitting in the courtroom and everyone has table. So like how we can create, this feeling cinematically, it was not easy. Those were the main conversations we had with him.
So I'm going to ask one more question, then we'll see what the audience wants to know. I mean, another thing which I think generates this feeling of tension in the film, and I think you alluded to it a bit in your introduction, but like the kind of the editing and the rhythm of it, especially given the prevalence of the long take in the film, and I think some people think like, oh, there are lots of long takes, it must be really easy to cut together, but I think actually no, not at all. It's the complete opposite. Knowing when to cut is probably an agonizing decision. So could you tell us a little bit about how the editing proceeded, and yeah, how you sort of navigate these difficult decisions about when to cut and when not to?
I mean, of course, when you're having long takes, part of the editing process is like taking place while shooting. You're making many decisions already on set. So that's why I was like, so careful while shooting, and I was thinking also like. I was shooting as if I was editing, because like you cannot basically cut in the middle of the scene, because it's just one shot, one long take. So that's why I was checking always like what was the scene before, what was the scene after, and then if it feels long, if it feels short. I was like, while watching it, I was like, not only looking the acting, the camera, but also I was looking at the rhythm, because rhythm is the most important thing when you don't have the tool of cut. Actually, in Between Two Dance, my first film, there was no cut at all in any scene. It like every scene was like one shot, but in this film, sometimes there's like one cut in a scene. And I remember I shot by the way, basically with the same crew, both films. So they know that I do like long takes. And then the crew celebrated when I did the first cut in my life. They were like, okay, like we did the cut. And then they were like, celebrating as if like I discovered the cinema, like the basics of cinema. Okay, you can cut. So I was like, okay, that makes many things easier, and I didn't know I could like use it before. Anyway, when you don't cut, you cannot arrange the rhythm of the scene in the editing room. So like that's why while shooting it, you have to be so careful about that. But before I start editing, I also thought that the editing process will be so easy because I already had like one shots. But like it was not, because I learned one thing, how you I'm gonna tell you. Oh, this is gonna be on YouTube, right? But okay, I'm gonna still tell. When I was working on my first film with an editor, like one whole day, I was like, trying like just 3 frames to the right, 5 frames to the left, and 2 frames to the right, 3 frames to the left. And the editor said at the end of the day, Selman, it doesn't really much, it doesn't matter that much, like it's like 5 frames or 2 frames. And then I was like, okay, like anyone can tell this. My producer can tell this, the writer, anyone. But like you are editor, you cannot tell this. And I stopped working with him that day. And then I started editing myself. And then later, a friend joined me. But when I had the footage as an editor on my own, what I realized is actually that few frames much matter so much, because what I learned basically, like how you end a scene and how you start the next scene changes all the dynamics. So like sometimes, we do test screening and people say, there's a rhythm problem in this scene. And then you really think that, you literally think that, oh, there's maybe a problem in that scene. But like sometimes the problem is like how you end the scene before or how you start the scene after. So like if you are cutting from an action to action or a silent moment to action or action to silent, like there's a many combination that you can experience. And then literally it has a really different experience in terms of rhythm, in terms of energy, in terms of like the dynamics. So like I had the chance to, like experience that because I edit like for a long time alone and I was not paying myself. So I had, enough time to work on it. So yeah.
The first question was it was about the Turkish release date.
Actually, today we officially decided, as you're like, following it. It's 3rd of May. We are gonna theatrically release in Turkey. And second question, basically, tereddüt çizgisi. Çizgi means actually line. That's why he meant. But like, it's a medical term, tereddüt çizgisi. The transition to tereddüt çizgisi, like in terms of medical terms, it is a station wound. Actually, that's the right transition. But it's, as everyone, I guess, got it, that like, when you're trying to kill yourself, like you make some wounds on your arm or on your body, and then that's called hesitation wounds. And then it's a turning point, it's an important point in the film. But also hesitation, when I'm like, after I write the script, I'm both writer and director. So like before I start directing, I look at the script, not as a writer, but as a director. And then I'm trying to find one word or one sentence, one action, something that kind of like guides me as a director, what is really like the story is telling. And in each scene, how like that could like guide me. So I found hesitating was an important word that kind of like helped me a lot, because all the characters are hesitating in a way, and I love to tell like stories in gray areas. Also, we start the story while entering to the city and then finish while exiting to the city. So like we look at the city. So I feel Turkey is also hesitating in many sense. Like we are neither in Europe or Asia. We are always in between things. Um, Between America and Russia. I don't know. Like it's always confusing to be in Turkey because like you are always hesitating something. And then also I was always thinking this is a really bad thing, but also later I thought that sometimes in order to get the truth, it's important to hesitate to understand really what it is. So anyway, so hesitating was important, and hesitation wound is the medical translation of tereddüt çizgisi.
So the question is about the choice to have a female protagonist, particularly one who's navigating these various legal, medical, ethical questions.
I mean, for me, when I'm writing characters, I'm not like looking if it's a female or male. It's just that character. It's just that person. It is as like you are giving a birth to a baby, and the first question is it's not about her. It's gender, right? It can be a girl or boy. But for me also like that when I'm writing story, it could be any gender. And also I'm writing in a way that I feel every character is like somehow reflecting something from me, and then everyone has like female and male, I don't know if it's energy or part whatever. But what is important about your question is I was doing a test screening, and then even when I was writing script, when I was getting feedback, some people were telling, what like, does she have a boyfriend or is she married? And then they were like asking some questions like that, and then I was never interested in that. And then someone else told that, would you ask this question if this would be a man, and then without I say something, they start to discuss. And then I realize, yes, when it's man, when the protagonist is man, people ask less questions, People wonder less because they accept it, I think, as a hero, A man doesn't need to have a wife or girlfriend or whatever, and we don't need to know about this. But if you choose a woman, like people tend to like asking like why questions. So that's why I like on purposely didn't want to tell anything about her backstory, because I think she doesn't need to, she does. We don't need to tell her backstory in order her to be a protagonist. I think I define her. She's a like strong person. She's stubborn. Like I define many things about her without her gender. So that's why I think, of course, it would be a really different story if it would be a man, and people would ask or not ask some questions, and I really enjoy this. Yeah.
That's all the time we have for, but Selman, thank you so much for being here and for the film. Thank all of you.
Thank you so much.